Don't think nurses can take breaks? Well, think again. Hello there, YouTubers. Welcome back to the Nurse Sabbatical. I'm so excited to have you here for the second episode of the Nurse Sabbatical. Today, we are going to talk about sabbaticals. Yes, that fancy word behind the nurse in my logo, sabbaticals. Wait. Don't ask Siri yet what sabbaticals are, because I'm going to tell you all about them. So last week I talked about burnout, right? Oh, are we really burned out? Isn't everybody? Shouldn't we just accept it? And I really wanted you to sit with the idea that no, you should not accept this idea of being burned out all the time. And while the media displays lots of taglines saying that nurses quitting because they're burned out, I'm here to tell you, like, we got options, right? Speaking from someone who was burned out. And they are sabbaticals. Maybe you heard professors talk about it. Maybe you heard doctors talk about it. Maybe if you go to a church, you heard your clergy, your minister, your bishop talk about taking a sabbatical. Well, I can tell you the first time I heard about it was that I was working with one of my physician colleagues, and they mentioned they took a sabbatical. And I was like, been a nurse a long time, but I don't know if I really understand what a sabbatical is. So what did you do? And the physician began to describe to me how they stayed in their PJs all day and then they took up photography. Like, that's what you did on your sabbatical? Oh, and I did some research. And like, that's it. Oh, I may have did 1 or 2 shifts a month. Wait, you got to like clear your head and explore your hobbies while getting paid? That's amazing. And then of course my second thought was, as a nurse, well, why don't we have that? But I'm here to tell you that we can create it. So, if we think about nursing, the most trusted profession right now in the United States, the one, as if you look up nurse practitioner under the US News, it's the best profession to get into. And during the pandemic, we were the superheroes. We were on the front lines. We were the ones taking care of everything. People say that hospitals, units cannot run without nurses. And yet, how are we taking care of our nurses? So a sabbatical truly is this idea that comes back way back, like kind of Bible times, really and truly about this idea of resting. You may have heard the story when God made the world, on the 7th day he rested. If you look back in further terms, people talked about the Sabbath year when they were farmers and they would soil the land for 6 years. And on the 7th year, they would rest. And the purpose, not of just them resting, but the soil resting, is that it could rest so that it could continue to grow crop in abundance in the following years. But they knew that if they overworked the land, their supply might diminish because the earth couldn't continue to produce at that rate. So if you think about this whole concept of like, oh wow, work really hard and then rest, where do we have that in nursing? So when I tell you the different professions that can get sabbaticals, as I mentioned to you, physicians who work with an academic institution like a university can get a sabbatical every 7th year. People who are in the clergy, ministers, priests, rabbis, they can get sabbaticals. Even some teachers who've worked for a university in certain years get sabbaticals. And while this concept was probably way back when, like before I could even conceptualize it, one of the first corporations that created sabbaticals was, can you guess? McDonald's, guys. McDonald's. In 1977, McDonald's created a corporate sabbatical plan for their employees. Within the last 15, 20 years, many other corporations followed, such as Cisco, Citigroup, like all these big time corporations where they're held responsible to their employees by saying, hey, you can participate in the sabbatical program for a set amount of time where you probably won't get your full pay. You may get some, you may get benefits, or you may not get any pay at all. But we're giving you time to rest and rejuvenate yourself. So I just told you, nursing is the most trusted profession. And yet we're expected to work, and work some more. But we don't get to take breaks. So I have this radical idea that all nurses should get sabbaticals. All nurses, like wherever you are in nursing, you should get a sabbatical. And truly, that's my purpose now, to really challenge 100 nurses to create their own sabbatical with my guidance. Of course, I'm here to help you. And you might be thinking, Amy, I'm just so used to working. I've always worked. I got a husband, a wife, a child, a family member, an elderly member. I have bills to pay and a mortgage. I can't take time off. But we all have responsibilities. And how much more are we going to grind ourselves to the ground to fulfill those responsibilities, knowing that we're depleted, knowing that we're exhausted, knowing that we're tired? And so if you're still in your mind thinking like, I don't need to take a break, I'll be fine. I go on vacation for 2 days, I come back and it's fine. I want you to think again. Imagine, just close your eyes right now, just right now. And imagine what would happen if you had 1 month off from work. Don't think about the money. Don't think about all the other things that always plague us when we think of a crazy idea. But what would you do if you didn't have to wake up with an alarm clock? If you could have breakfast sitting down at your table, at a counter, at your favorite breakfast spot, on the beach, and you could eat with ease and not rush in front of a computer. That you can make plans with friends to do things and actually stick with them because you didn't have to worry about what time you were getting off of work. Imagine you could spend more time with your partner, your spouse, your significant other, your children, your family members, without the constraints of worrying about work, just for 1 month. What would you do for you? What would make you feel alive again? What would make you feel so well rested? Now, I find it very impossible when I ask people these questions that they can't imagine that one thing that would bring them joy. I can honestly tell you that when I started my sabbatical, I gave myself no schedule. And my favorite part of my morning is that I'm a tea lover, not a coffee lover, but I'm a tea lover. And I would wake up every morning and make a cup of tea and drink it in a mug on my couch. I wasn't rushing. I didn't have to put in a travel mug. I wasn't packing lunch. I wasn't running out the door. I was enjoying the moment. Life is so short. We're always running and doing things. And so this idea of a sabbatical really and truly is not that you leave your job, unless you feel like that's a space that you're in, but it's really just to take time off, to rest, enjoy the moment so you can go back and do your best work or be your best selves or make that pivot or make that shift that you want to make. I recently spoke to a nurse who asked me, hey, Amy, with your time off, what did you do? Or what have you been up to? And I said, I took a sabbatical. She's like, well, what do you mean? And I said, I took time off from work. I just didn't work. And she said, wow. She said, I was just thinking the other day that I've been working since I was 14. And the only time I didn't work was during maternity leave. Imagine that. I would have loved to take some time off. So again, this radical idea of a sabbatical is possible. We just have to remove the limitations in our mind to realize we can produce the thing that we want. And that we don't need permission to rest. Rest is important. So as I mentioned earlier, my goal is to inspire 100 nurses and coach them to take career breaks and chase dreams, ideas, whatever they want to create for themselves. So if you want to see more of this content, if you've gotten excited by this idea of taking time off, please comment below, share, subscribe as I continue to drop more information on how you can create your own career break to make the pivot you want, chase the dream you desire, work on the thing you want. That's my episode for today, guys. Stay tuned for more information, and remember, anything is possible as a nurse.